Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Just here we are again, another self-care Saturday. Care of myself, Warren Flood, and my generous host, Jenny and Steve Murray, both experts in their field of helping people be well. And today, just wanted to, what's really been going through my mind for just about the whole week is that it brings me back to a quote by Dr. Caroline Leaf, who's a neuroscientist. And in fact, I'm going to read, before I even start, I'm actually going to read from her book, Think, Learn and Succeed. And on page 39, and this is something that really caught, I may even have mentioned this in one or two of my other little podcasts, is that this is what absolutely blew me away when I first read it. It was such a powerful statement. And quote unquote, page 39, Think, Learn and Succeed. Research in quantum physics and the mind-body connection shows the signals of the mind, which are considered non-physical light waves or packets of energy, form 90 to 99% of who we are. These waves are our dominant reality. We cannot ignore the intangible, powerful mind element of who we are as humans. And then she goes on, and it's just such an incredibly interesting paragraph. As thoughts travel through our brains at quantum speeds, neurons fire together in distinctive ways based on specific information being handled, and those patterns of neural activity transform our neural structures. So basically, there's a scientific explanation as to how our thinking informs matter, and matter being our body. And it just makes me think about that mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. So that's just me being a little facetious on a Saturday morning. So the whole thing is what really sort of got me, and this has taken me back through all the, and just a reminder that once again, I'm non-medically trained. I have certification in several things, but I'm non-medically trained. These are my ideas. These are thoughts that I've cobbled together in working with so many wonderful clients, reading books, my own practice, my own breath work, my own working through all my trials and tribulations, and sort of working with the vicissitudes of life. I like it for a nice big word for a personal trainer. And coming back to that fact with really beginning to understand. And here's the thing that I think has become paramount in terms of us being able to move forward. It's going to be almost a paradigm shift in awareness, and all your great spiritual, religious, and indigenous traditions speak to this, that we are so much more than just the sum of our physicality. And we've always been trying to transcend our physical awareness and move beyond our senses. And in that particular paragraph of Dr. Leaf's, what blew me away was that we're not even aware. And here's the thing: we're not even aware of up to 99% of who we are. We haven't begun to think about that. And I think, she goes on to explain it, and from other sort of readings and whatnot, 10 to the power of the potential of that electromagnetic energy, that is the mind field. And in no ways am I trying to emulate a quantum physicist. I'm an absolute layperson. These are just things that have made so much sense to me. And to even go on to talk about Stephen Kotler. And in his wonderful book called Stealing Fire, he goes on to talk about flow and what flow is. And he comes up after having done hundreds of brain scans and chatted to so many different people, these elite athletes that are doing all these crazy things like flipping off the edges of cliffs and base jumping and the motorbiking and high speed downhill bicycling and all these other things. Is that what he asked them? What do you experience when you're in deep states of flow? And the 4 words that he came up with, and I always will be grateful to that particular book and Stephen Kotler's teaching, is that the 4 words that they came up with was selfless, timeless, effortless, and rich. And if ever there was a word to describe consciousness, and that's the thing, is, to differentiate between being conscious and who we are as consciousness. And if you think about what Dr. Leaf is saying there, as up to 99% of who we are light packets of energy. And in a separate interview, she was interviewed, and it's basically it's an electromagnetic field. This energy is part of a greater electromagnetic field, and you can do this is an invitation to start the research and understand it. But my awareness for myself is that I'm so much more than just the sum of my physicality, and my conscious awareness of who I am and who I've become because of my past and my environment. And as Dr. Joe Dispenza always says, are we able to think greater than our environment? And here's the thing, here's the rub. Who's the person doing the thinking? Is it you as a personality doing the thinking, or is it the consciousness knowing itself as you, beginning to think greater than the environment we find ourselves in? And in my experience is that absolutely I've begun to understand that consciousness is informed initially by the way because we're almost like born into a humanhood where we take on everything around us. Obviously we have a human form, we've got a physical body, but we're not just that, we're both mind and body. And in this, I really hope I'm making sense. It's taken me a long time to be able to even articulate this in a straight line in my own brain, but it's really beginning to understand that as consciousness, and to put it into a little bit of perspective, the awareness that I had the other day was that it's not Warren trying to become more conscious, it's actually consciousness becoming aware of itself as Warren. So you flip your thinking around, and it's in that up to 99% of who I am is light packets of energy. And then the rest is my physicality, my history, my future, my wants, my needs, my desires, and all these other things that make me up as this personality expressing itself as Warren speaking to you. And then from there is then in another interview, Dr. Caroline Leaf was asked, if this is an electromagnetic field and this is, have they actually seen where it begins and where it ends? And the answer was no. She said they actually haven't. And it's part of the greater field, and it's pure potential. It's absolute pure potential, selfless, timeless, effortless, and rich potential. And we're life itself. If one had to describe what life is, the energy that flows through everything to give it life, the starting point, the source, whatever you want to call it, that in and of itself is selfless, timeless, effortless, rich potential just waiting to happen. But having been confined into the point, confined not necessarily in a bad sense, I don't think, but confined to the point where you're experiencing yourself right now in this moment as you are with your mind set. And I call it a mindset because it's a set of thoughts, words, and beliefs and activities that are either holding you in a holding pattern where you are now, or are actually helping you to grow and expand. And what really helped me, actually what helped me tremendously in coming to terms with a lot of things that I'd been working through, and family interactions, was I asked myself this question, because if science has now proved that we are consciousness, that this is part of our makeup, this is who we are, that up to 90 to 99% of who we are, light packets of quantum energy, just waiting to be expressed or expressing, then I asked myself, and I actually started using my environment. I started using my environment as what I used to bump up against and feel really like either rageful or hurtful, or being hurt or being rageful or projecting onto it, or they shouldn't be behaving like that, or what I started doing as a practice, and I took this on a practice, and it definitely, that's why they call it, it's definitely a practice. If I am selfless, timeless, effortless, and rich energy, what is it about me that I need to defend in terms of how that person is behaving? Can I let this go, or do I really need to hold on to this to then have a grudge or a judgment or an observation that doesn't suit me, and invariably it would be me festering inside, not them. And most of us don't speak up in a healthy way. Well, let me put it this way: I certainly didn't. Everything was always suppressed. Never really spoke out about what it is that I felt or needed or wanted. And then just to be able to hold it up, and I can get every single time, no matter how hard it was, I didn't even have to try hard. What actually happened was every single time I just let it go. And then the same issue would come up and I could let it go. And the same issue could come up and then I could let it go. And some of you might be thinking, well, if I let everything go, then who am I? But here's the thing, is that as I became calmer, as I became more observant to what was going on inside of me emotionally and mentally, I began to understand just how limited my thinking was in terms of just allowing things to unfold. But it wasn't just allowing things to unfold that that I lost a sense of authenticity or efficacy. I really felt that I could set pretty strong boundaries, and I managed to become even more present to the work that I was doing, whether I was working with clients and things just started, things have been working out in a way that I can't really fathom, but there's the calmer I've become. And here's the thing about the calmer that I've become. And for those of you that speak Afrikaans, voorkamer, agterkamer, nakamer, die TV-kamer, you become that calm that you'll experience all 4 rooms at the same time. And I say that in jest. And what I've started to realize is that our bodies are almost like a lens through which the consciousness that we don't even know that we are shines through, and then the lens can be polished by the type of thoughts that you have, can be polished by and here's the thing, this is the real thing that as a almost at the end of 2024 takeaway. Here's the real thing, is that everything that we now start doing, the reason why you choose to really look at your language sets, the reason why you choose to really look at your habitual reactions and responses to the people and the things and the situations around you, and the reason why we exercise, and the reason why we choose to sleep well, and the reason why we choose good nutrition, is that we're beginning to polish our bodies are like a receiver, like a transducer. And the cleaner and more clear we can have our bodies, the more we experience more of who we are as the consciousness that we're not even aware of being. And that's the thing, is that how can you experience something that is selfless, timeless, effortless, rich, but tasteless, odorless, touchless, feelless, and then it's how do we then begin to interpret all of that? And then you can just imagine bringing all of that online, because in being life itself, we have all of that electromagnetic energy, 10 to the power of 21, ever expanding, everlasting, infinite consciousness available to us. And then the best way to start and it's fine to talk about that intellectually, but then to actually begin to experientially understand that, if that then became our default, there would be nothing to defend, there would be nothing to hold on to, there would be nothing to, and then suddenly you find yourself, I certainly found myself being much lighter, much more open, much more accepting, much more. And once again, it's not about becoming weak. It's that blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. And meek being a wonderful story that I was told about war horses back in the day, when they still had war horses. When a war horse was meeked, it was meant that it was trained to such a degree that it had all that power under control. And that's really the thing, is that you begin to become an absolute observer and watch the ebb and flow of all of your thoughts, all of your beliefs, all of your actions, and just the awareness, and then just that capacity that if we are here as creative, expressive, ever evolving beings, then you begin to tap into that, and then it becomes not based on what we have to do, but what are we allowing to flow throughout into our lives. And if there's no end to us, up to 99% of who we are, like packets of quantum energy, and that's our mind aspect, untapped mind energy, that begin to understand that whatever we're experiencing physically is temporary. It just keeps repeating because we keep thinking the same thoughts, and that opens itself to all sorts of questions. And believe you me, that the more time I spend contemplating this, the more time I spend thinking about this, the more time I spend trying to fathom all of this, I realize I just have even more questions. So hopefully today's talk will inspire you to have a deep dive into some information, to question me, to just sort of really begin to understand that you're more than the sum of who you think you are, and that right now where you are is selfless, timeless, effortless, rich potential, just waiting to be realized as you become more and more aware of who you are as consciousness experiencing itself through the physicality, and we're all one and the same. So I hope that makes sense, because it's starting to make sense in my head. And I wish you all a wonderful Saturday and Sunday, and we'll be online again for next week's Self-Care Saturday. Take care, everybody, and once again a big thank you to my sponsors Jenny and Steve Murray. Okay, bye.